She doesn't just watch over the desert. She waits, golden eyes unblinking, ready to catch the gaze of anyone who dares scroll past. But will you dare to look back? The Desert Spoke, A Tale of Ancient Egypt, by Alex Wynne Ashwood. The gates of Memphis stood wide open to the desert wind. The sun was already high, scattering white light across the limestone walls, blinding and sharp as a blade. Neferet strode toward the road, her leather vest creaking softly with each confident step, her shoulder-length black hair glinting in the heat. She was no novice to fear. Rumors of a lion terrorizing caravans had spread like smoke through the city, but she met them with a grin that unsettled the men who whispered. She tossed her spear down in the sand before the guard post, dust blooming around it like a challenge. "I'll have it down before nightfall," she said, loud enough for every trembling traitor to hear. The sunlight pressed on her shoulders, but her stance was easy, as if she were walking into a tavern, not a hunt. In the distance, the road north shimmered in the heat. Somewhere out there, the lion waited. But so did she. The city walls vanished behind her as Neferet walked north, following the trade route that shimmered beneath the merciless midday sun. Sand shifted under her sandals with each step, and the road ahead stretched like a ribbon into the horizon. There was no breeze, only the weight of heat pressing down on the earth. Here and there, scraps of torn linen, shattered amphorae, and dark streaks in the sand whispered of what had happened. The silence was so deep, it made even her heartbeat sound loud. She knelt, leather vest tightening around her shoulders, and ran her calloused fingers over a paw print in the dust. Too wide, too deep, unlike any she had tracked before. Her sharp eyes scanned the edges of the dunes. No lion. No lion, no tracks of men. Only the hot breath of the desert and the faint hum of cicadas. Neferet smiled, the same smile that made others uneasy. "Good," she murmured. "You're real." The sun burned higher as Neferet followed the trail deeper into the silence. A single old well, long abandoned, stood like a broken tooth in the sand, its bricks crumbling, its wooden cover split. At its edge slumped a caravan guard, skin cracked from thirst, lips pale, eyes wide with the kind of fear only beasts can carve into men. The air smelled of old water and hate. She knelt beside him, steadying his shaking hands as she poured a little water from her skin into his mouth. His words came like a rasping wind. A lion, but not like any lion. Eyes burning like bronze, a shape that moved with a woman's laugh in the wind. His head lolled, his breathing slowed. Neferet felt the weight of the sun on her neck, but it wasn't the heat that made her shiver. It was the sound in his voice, the way fear had taken root. The heat swelled as Neferet left the road behind, stepping into the open desert where even the air seemed to waver. The horizon stretched endlessly, a bleached gold under the noon sun. She moved with the confident ease of someone who had learned to read the smallest details in a land that gave nothing away. Her leather vest clung lightly to her shoulders, her spear balanced effortlessly in one hand. There were no sounds but her sandals against the sand, and the distant, slow sigh of the wind over the dunes. She paused on a rise, scanning the distance. The paw prints she followed were deeper now, each one pressed into the shifting dunes with the weight of a creature too heavy to be ordinary. They led north, curving like a serpent's path. In the far shimmer, something dark jutted from the sand. A ruined hunting shrine, long abandoned. Neferet felt the grin tug at her lips. The hunt was leading her exactly where she wanted to go. The ruined shrine rose from the sand like the ribcage of a long-dead beast, its walls half buried, its lintel cracked. Time and wind had stripped away its color, but faint carvings still clung to the stone. Lions in sun discs, worn smooth by centuries of desert storms. Neferet approached slowly, every step sinking deep into the hot sand, the air heavy with heat and silence. Even the wind seemed to hold its breath. She stopped before the entrance, 2 broken columns framing a darkness that swallowed the light. On the lintel, fresh claw marks scored across the ancient carvings. She crouched, brushing her fingers against the sand. A trace of blood, still tacky under her touch. Her heartbeat slowed, not from fear, but from the clean, sharp focus of the hunt. Whatever had torn through this place had not gone far, and it had no idea who was coming for it. The shrine stood silent in the blistering heat. Not a breeze, not a single bird in the sky. The air itself felt heavy. That was when the first low growl rolled across the sand like thunder crawling on its belly. Then another, and another. From behind the broken columns, from the dunes, from the shade of the papyrus reeds they emerged. A pride of lions, their amber eyes fixed on the same point, the intruder. The Huntress's spear, once steady, trembled. She turned slowly and realized they had formed a perfect circle, a living wall of muscle and gold. Their tails flicked in rhythm, silent and patient. Not a single roar. They didn't need to. They advanced, 1 step. Then the lions froze, as if the sun itself had commanded it. A tremor rippled through the sand, not from their paws, but from something larger. The air thickened, dry, hot, metallic. And then a shape stepped into the circle. Not a lion, not a woman. Both. Sekhmet appeared as if she had always been there, a woman's body tall and radiant, crowned with a golden sun disk, her lioness head gleaming in the white noon. 1 lion crept forward, its tail tucked, and she lowered a clawed hand to its mane. The beast looked up, and in that impossible stillness, it almost smiled. The others lowered their heads. Her voice was low, rich, and final. This game is over, little Huntress. The sun disk caught the light, casting long lines across the sand. She tilted her head, studying the girl she had not needed to see to know. "You've grown reckless since your mother died," she said, not unkindly, just as someone stating what had always been true. Sekhmet turned toward the shrine, then back toward the girl. "You may leave unharmed," she continued, "but only if you make this place whole again. A shrine forgotten is a wound to me. Promise it, or stay here among my lions." The girl's voice caught in her throat. "I promise," she whispered. And just like that, the lions stepped aside, opening a path to the dunes. She ran, heart hammering, sand slipping beneath her feet. Behind her the spear fell, forgotten in the heat. The palace courtyard blazed with sunlight when she burst through the gates, hair tangled, sandals in hand, the desert still clinging to her. She didn't slow down, not at the guards, not at the courtiers, not at the startled musicians scattering out of her path. She ran straight for the great hall, heart pounding, harder than it had beneath the lion's stare. Inside, the Pharaoh sat on his throne of gold and cedar, a white collar of lapis and carnelian gleaming in the light. When he saw her, his expression folded not into anger, but into something worse. The resigned exasperation of a man who had fought this battle many times before. He rubbed his forehead with the heel of his hand. "My daughter," he sighed. "How many times must I tell you? Again the lions, again the hunting, again my poor guards chasing sand. You have inherited your mother's stubbornness, I see." She opened her mouth to explain, but he held up one finger, half stern, half fond. "Don't. I know that look. Whatever it is It will end with me summoning priests, paying fines, and someone mending something you've broken." For the first time that day, she nearly laughed. It wasn't every huntress who could face down Sekhmet and then get scolded like a child by the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. She stood before the throne, hands clasped behind her back like a child caught with sticky honey fingers, and for once she didn't argue. "Father," she said at last, "I swear I won't go hunting again." He raised an eyebrow, skeptical, and she straightened her shoulders. "In fact, for my punishment, I'll go and repair the shrine myself. Every stone, every carving, you'll see. It will shine brighter than Memphis itself." For a heartbeat, Pharaoh just stared at her, then laughed, not a courtly laugh, but the quiet, helpless chuckle of a father who knows his daughter too well. "At last," he said. "Sekhmet has done what 20 guards, 5 priests, and my patients could not. She has made you reasonable." He raised his hands to the heavens in mock reverence. "Glory to the mighty lioness. May she bless us with a quiet week for once." The desert shimmered in the early light, the air still cool enough to feel like a promise. Neferet stood at the edge of the old shrine's ruins, nothing more than a cluster of tumbled stones and half-buried pillars, her hunting days already beginning to feel like a past life. A flock of ibis passed overhead, and the wind caught the hem of her skirt as if nudging her forward. The royal architect had arrived before her, a plump man with a polished, bald head, layers of fine linen clinging to his round belly, and eyes rimmed heavily with kohl that made him look perpetually unimpressed. He squinted at the ruins, tapped his reed stylus against his palm, and let out the kind of long, theatrical sigh that only men who build temples for princesses can produce. "It can be done," he declared at last, as if bestowing a royal decree, "though it will take a great deal of stone and patience." And Neferet laughed. The sound was light, sunlit, and stepped forward. In the distance, where the sun climbed higher, a golden lioness head shimmered faintly, watching over the promise she had made, and the huntress, once reckless, began to build instead of chase. And the desert spoke. A tale of ancient Egypt,